Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the SoCal Sports Dudes podcast. Jason Wen here. Today I want to talk a little bit about the NFL, but before we get started, I want to wish Happy New Year to everybody. Today is December 31st of 22, so tomorrow will be a new year. So happy, safe and productive new year to everybody out there. Let's make 23 a good one, right? It'll be, of course, a great sports year with all the football playoffs coming up. MLB baseball free agency just ended. NBA is underway. Got hockey going. Some of the Bulls season right now. So lots going on right now. Before we get rolling, can you guys be so kind to smash the like button, leave some comments in the comments section there, and give a thumbs up there, which much appreciated so we can help grow this channel, bring you some good content when stuff starts to add up here. So today I want to talk a little bit about the NFL. As I said, it's now only a couple of weeks left before the end of the season and we get into the playoffs. So wanted to go real quick through the standings and then also to talk a little bit about some of the teams that needs that teams are going to need to make, and maybe some player movements or coaching changes, whispers of that. I think it would be kind of nice to just kind of touch on that a little bit. So with that, let's go, conference by conference, division, and then I'll kind of just run through them. Team by team here. So first of all, standings right now, Buffalo's in first in the AFC East, 12-3. Miami, the Jets, and New England are both, Miami's 8-7, then the Jets and New England are both 7-8. So competitive division there, man. I think everyone's still kind of alive playoff picture-wise. Of course, a lot of that might change after tomorrow, but some key matchups, especially Jets and Dolphins play each other. Patriots and Dolphins play each other. Buffalo's got a big game with Cincinnati, who actually, by the way, lead the North Division, just ahead of Baltimore. Pittsburgh kind of hanging in there, 7-8. Cleveland, 6-9 at the bottom there. South has been a surprise. AFC South, Jacksonville's in the lead there, followed by Tennessee. Indy's been disappointing. Houston at the bottom. I don't think anybody really had high expectations for them before the year started. Out west, you got KC in first. Chargers are kind of taking over that second spot. They've kind of warmed up lately here. Raiders have blown too many close They've blown too many close games this year. They're 6-9 now, but that could easily be 9 or 10 wins if they would have held on to these double-digit leads they've been kind of blowing here the last few weeks. Denver in last place, not a good year. They just recently fired Paul Hackett, of course, so they're 4-11. Going over to the NFC, you got Philly at the top, 13-2. NFC East, Dallas is right behind them, 12-4. I don't know if they have a chance to still overtake them, but Philly's got to win another game here just to make sure. Giants and Washington still in it though. Giants are 8-6-1. Very good year for them. I mean, I don't know if Giant fans would have expected 8 wins out of the year, but Dayball's done a heck of a job there. Washington's been solid, even with the injuries and the slow start they had there. 7-7-1. Ron Rivera always seems to be able to do a good job. NFC North, you got Minnesota, surprisingly 12-3. They've won a lot of close one-score type games. Detroit's been rock solid, which is another surprise there. They're at 7-8. Green Bay is now tied them 7-8 there, at least standing wise. Chicago 3-12. But yeah, Detroit and Green Bay, it's gonna be interesting to see who kind of crosses the finish line here with some momentum, because Green Bay's gotten kind of heating up here lately. NFC South is a mess, man. You got Tampa Bay in first at 7-8. They're playing this weekend. They play Carolina, who's right behind them at 6-9. With a win, Carolina will be taking over first place in that ugly division there. New Orleans and Atlanta are both kind of on middle and bottom of the pack there. NFC West, San Fran, man, they've won. What is this, like how many straight games now? I mean, they're on a roll, 11-4, even with now onto the third quarterback for the year, but they're still rolling. Seattle's kind of faded since starting off nice with that hot start. The Rams 5-10. They wouldn't even be that though if they didn't, have that last second comeback against the Raiders. And picking up Baker Mayfield has kind of allowed them to squeeze a few more wins out of this. Arizona 4-11, been a rough year for them. I want to see if some changes are going to be made there. So that's one thing I want to get to. I'm going to bounce now team to team and see changes, whether it's quarterback or some key needs or coaching changes. We can all say Buffalo's pretty solid there. Yeah, they unfortunately lost Von Miller, which I think kind of gave is a hit to their defense and their ability to get the sack they needed at the key moment of the game. Miami, Mike McDaniel's done a really good job there, but God, is Tua really the guy? I mean, he's had concussion issues, which, my heart goes out to him for that. But even then, I'm kind of like, I don't know if I'm sold on him being the long-term, full-time quarterback there for the Dolphins. I mean, yeah, he just has some, shortcomings in his game that are kind of. The Jets have been surprisingly good, but they unfortunately have had some issues there with trying to develop and bring along Zach Wilson, who of course was the second pick in the draft just a couple years ago to Trevor Lawrence, but just doesn't seem to be working out there in New York for Zach Wilson. It seems like all the talent's there, though. I mean, if another team can give them the right price, they can take him on and maybe bring him along in the right system, in the right environment. It might be just what he needs. Maybe something, a smaller market type guy. Zach Wilson might be, I don't know if the New York thing has gotten to him, and now the fans are just on him every time he steps on the field. They're booing him, so it's like, maybe time for everyone to move on there. But I don't know. I think like the Raiders took a flyer on him and brought him along, a more experienced starter, and then you bring Zach as your developmental guy that you can kind of repolish the potential candidate he supposedly was there. New England, you got the Mac Jones things kind of. They're solid, but they just seem to be unspectacular. Belichick, of course, seems to be a guy that's going to be running the show there for a while. Cincinnati, solid. They start off kind of slow, but the offensive line looks a lot better. Their defense has been playing solid. Joe Burrow stayed upright, stayed healthy. You got those receivers with, Chase and Higgins and Boyd and then the tight end sometimes makes, what tight end? I'm drawing a blank, but I got mixed up with the Minnesota guy. But anyway, they've had had a great year there so far, and they just seem to be able to win when it matters. Like Joe Burrow, man, you never count him out in the big game. It seems like he is not intimidated by the moment, and he's obviously won the big one there in college at LSU. And it'd be interesting. I think he might be the type of guy that, last year they got so close against the Rams during the Super Bowl. If you get him back to that same spot, Burrow might be able to lead these Bengals to the title there. I don't see them being too far behind Buffalo or KC. I think they're right there, and they've shown that they can beat KC. 3 times now in a row, 4 times in a row. So Baltimore, Lamar's been kind of out. It seems like now this last 2 years, toward the end of the year, he's kind of not been able to step in there and help. Has been on the injured list. So Tyler Huntley stepping in. That's, I think, a drop off, of course, from going from Lamar to Tyler Huntley. But that warrants the question: Does Lamar get that? Is he worth that big long-term contract? Can you rely on him depend on him to be healthy? I don't know, man. I just wonder. Baltimore's gonna have to think that one out. Pittsburgh 7-8. They seem to be trusting, or seem to be kind of hanging in there. Maybe they found their guy there with Kenny Pickett. So got some question marks there, and I don't know. It just seems like this team, Mike Tomlin's really able to kind of get the most out of this team that doesn't seem to have the most talented roster in the league. Cleveland 6-9, rough year. They were so-so, or it started off pretty good with Brissett, but have been kind of so-so and less than stellar since making the switch over to Deshaun. He's got a lot of rust to shake off, so I don't know if we can expect much out of him this year. Maybe next year with a full training camp under his belt and a year under the system that it can finally start going for him again. But I don't know, man. I wonder, there's some question marks there with Cleveland. Is that necessarily the right move to make, moving on from kicking Baker out of there and going with Deshaun? And now Baker's shown some signs of life there with the Rams. AFC South, Jacksonville, they've the team that I thought were going to be maybe pointing toward next year to be in the race there, but they're coming along pretty quick there with Doug Peterson, man. I think he's propelled them to one of the stronger teams in a weak division there, because Tennessee's got, Tannehill being in and out, and moving on from A.J. Brown, I think has really hurt them. But yeah, Jacksonville right now is in the driver's seat in that division. I don't know if they're going to stay there and get to the playoffs, and if maybe they can make some noise in the playoffs. With Lawrence, Etienne, Christian Kirk, and some of the players they have, plus the talent on defense. They got some athletes on that side, and all these years of top draft picks, are they starting to finally bear some fruit from that with the right coaching by Peterson? So it'll be interesting to see how that finishes off there between Jacksonville and Tennessee. You got Indy. They're going to probably need to be looking at quarterback again. Obviously, they moved on from Frank Reich and brought in Jeff Saturday, which is a little bit of a head scratcher there. But okay, so you switched. You're playing this revolving door at quarterback, going from Matt Ryan to Ellinger to Nick Foles, or back to Matt Ryan over to Nick Foles. Just that is not exactly the ideal batch of quarterbacks to be trotting out there week by week. They seem to be, a team that could be in mentioned as one of the teams that will definitely be on the shopping for a quarterback. You know what I mean? They'll have a to-do list there. Houston, 2-12. Lovey stepped in and coached for the year after 1 year, one and done by David Coley. But the bright side, Houston, you're going to have the top pick, and you can maybe do something good with that. I don't know. I don't have much to say about the Texans. They're just 2-12-1. Wow. AFC West, KC with you figure, okay, you lose Tyreek Hill, man, but they've been solid, man. I mean, you got found gold there with Pacheco at the running back position. You got Smith-Schuster running routes now. Valdez Scantlings look good. Travis Kelce, always dependable. Defense, always solid enough there. And you got Mahomes, man. Mahomes, anytime you got him on your team, watch out. And you know you're going to have a good chance to be in good position to win the whole thing, whether it's regular season, playoff, or back to the Super Bowl. They look like it, to me, it looks like a pretty much like a three-team race, or three-headed race there in the AFC. But you got these other teams, the Chargers being one of them, a team that could be sneaky good. You got talent at some of the bigger, more premium positions that might help if they get hot at the right time, they can roll with it, because you got weapons there with Herbert, Eckler, Keenan Allen, Williams. You know what I mean? The defense, if they can get healthy, it always seems like year after year there are injury question marks with the Chargers. But 9-6, I think Staley was being whispered as being, they're holding the door open for him to leave so they can bring Sean Payton in. But he's doing a pretty solid job for the most part. And it's risky going for it on fourth down sometimes and not getting it on the wrong side of the field, which sometimes puzzling. But what are you gonna do? Raiders, they got a lot of question marks, man. They moved on from Bisaccia to bring in McDaniels. It seemed like they played their asses off for Bisaccia. Everything seemed to be kind of a good, cohesive, cohesive effort by the team to play hard for the coach and achieve. They got into the playoffs last year, I think, in a large part by the inspiration by Bisaccia. Then, okay, let's make the moves. Let's get McDaniels in there, who's proven before he's a really good offensive coordinator. I don't know how great of a head coach he is. He's not having the results with Derek Carr that people probably thought, like, oh, this is, way more talent than Mac Jones is in New England, and give him this Raider offense with Devontae Adams and Waller and Jacobs, and off they go. But they just seem to be, find ways to lose. It's like, again, sloppy losses sometimes. We're going, what are you guys doing? You're not playing the full 40 or 60 minutes. I'm sorry, basketball here. Full 60 minutes and just finishing it through. And 6-9, man, that's kind of disappointing. They really easily should be 9-6 right there with the Chargers, right there behind KC, I would think, in second. But hey, we'll talk. I'll bring another video and see what we do next, because now it sounds like Derek Carr's being benched. They're going to throw Stidham in there. Okay, well, we're going to see how this plays out. But there's moves to be made here for the Raiders. It's going to be interesting with the Carr scenario. But again, we'll talk more about that as we head toward the offseason. Denver 4-11, pretty disappointing year for them. Paul Hackett, or Nathaniel Hackett, I'm sorry, his dad's Paul Hackett. He got shown the door the other day. Russell Wilson has not been looking like the Russell Wilson we knew to be in Seattle. Rough year for Denver, man, 4-11, and their draft pick goes to Seattle. Oh, that makes it even worse. Like, you guys, otherwise, for the bad year you're having, at least would have a top draft pick that you can find some kind of like light at the end of the tunnel there. It's like, okay, well, at least we got our draft pick and we could fix it. Oh, damn, we traded that to Seattle. Seattle's happy. All right, Broncos, go ahead and stink it up. We'll take your top draft pick and make something with it. So, um, NFC East, Philly, they, of course, Jalen Hurts has the shoulder injury. Minshew stepped in. Probably could have pulled out that win last week. They had some sloppy turnovers there at the end. But Philly's been a rock solid team. But the key is, can they do it, continue to do it when it matters in the playoffs? Because we've seen teams before have great regular seasons and then get to the playoffs and lay an egg. So I'm hopeful for Philly and their fans, man. They can kind of continue to they get Hurts back healthy, and that this year they don't duplicate what they did last year in the playoffs, which was but of course this year's team is much better. So Dallas right there though, they're getting putting up a lot of points every week. It seems like got kind of struck gold getting Micah Parsons and sticking him at the edge rusher position there. You got the two-headed running back there with Pollard and Elliott. CeeDee Lamb's been pretty awesome. That offensive line is held together, which I think was, a lot of people would have said was a big question mark coming into the year. Not bad though for Cowboys, 12-4, and looking like a threat in the playoffs there. Giants, 8-6-1. Great job by Dayball. Barkley staying healthy, big reasons for their success. Daniel Jones been solid. He's not always spectacular, but they seem to just do just enough to kind of to be in position maybe to win games. They don't win pretty, but hey, they're there 8-6-1, maybe knocking on the door, going to be able to sneak into the playoffs there. Washington kind of in that same breath, 7-7-1, but they're going to be switching back from Wentz to Heineke, back to Wentz, and is that going to impact how they finish the year off? Will be interesting to see. Minnesota in the NFC North, and Minnesota's 12-3, surprising year. Kevin O'Connell having a great, rookie year for head coach. I mean, I didn't see this coming. 12-3, a lot of close wins. They've been, fortunate in a lot of these. Another team, again, it's great now, this 12-3 record, but win when it matters in the playoffs, because Minnesota is notorious for kind of, laying the egg in the playoffs. So let's see if they can continue to this luck that they're having here. Cousins and Jefferson and Osborne's look good. Getting Hawkinson, that was a big, nice get, especially from a division rival. That's like Lions just gave him to the Vikings. You're like, you trade him within the division there. It's interesting. But Detroit's been solid, man. They're 7-8 right now. Jared Goff has been really good, getting good production out of Jamal Williams and St. Brown, the receiver. Swift, when he's healthy, is always fun to watch because he's such a good pass catcher out of the backfield too. And just Dan Campbell, man, it looks like the offensive line is really a solid unit there. And Detroit has some things to like moving forward here. So, and they got the Rams draft pick, man. The Rams knuckleheads gave all that extra draft pick to get rid of Goff, who's now looking pretty solid, and then you got an injured Stafford. So Detroit, kind of like Seattle's going to reap the benefits of Denver's misery. Detroit gets to reap the benefits of the Rams stinking it up. So, they look like they're heading in the right direction and building a winner. And Dan Campbell is doing a great job there. Green Bay, they started off real sluggish and just kind of everyone thought, oh, it's done, and blow it up and trade Rodgers and just bench the whole team. But there they come. They're coming alive right at the end, and they just had that nice win in Miami last week to put them at 7-8, which is right. And they're the type of team, like, you run into Green Bay in the playoffs, you're like, ooh, watch out, because anything could happen when you have Rodgers on the team. And now he seemed to have found a weapon with Christian Watson there. So, it just took a while for Watson to mature and get to know the system. And now he's looking good. Green Bay's kind of right in there. Chicago 3-12. Eberflus, kind of a rough year. They have found, it looks like, their quarterback, though, with Fields, who I kind of had my questions on. But, I mean, the way, just open up the playbook, let him run and use his athletic ability, and look what's happening. He's turned into, it seems like the answer at quarterback for him. There's been whispers lately, I've been reading, Jim Harbaugh, like the new hire by the Bears is a Jim Harbaugh buddy, and I think Michigan was going down here to TCU earlier, so I'll have to recheck the score there. But anyway, he's an ex-Bear. He's knows that part of the country. I think he has eyes on going back to the NFL. So would be weird if Eberflus one and done, but I mean, if you could get Jim Harbaugh to run that team, they go from a 3-12 team to, either middle of the pack or playoff contention next year. He just seems to have that touch, So it'll be interesting to see if Chicago makes some sort of change there, or if this is just a bunch of whispers and noise that's being thrown out there. NFC South is ugly, man. Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, a lot of injuries. That offensive line had some injuries right when the year started. Kind of ugly games to watch whenever you're watching these teams in this division. Carolina's been somehow solid ever since they moved on from Matt Rule, getting kind of moving on from Baker and Darnold. I mean, all they're doing now is running the ball and playing some defense, and it's not pretty, but they're winning a few games there. New Orleans, you wonder, are they going to keep Dennis Allen long term? Do they turn back toward Sean Payton? I mean, I don't know. It's still, I think they're still in salary cap hell over there. Andy Dalton's been solid. They got like a good weapon there with Olave. Kamara, those getting older, and some of the other pieces there. The cap situation, I don't know what the long-term outlook is for New Orleans there. Atlanta 5-10, moving from Mariota to Ritter now at quarterback. Algier's been pretty good, Cordell Patterson, but Atlanta, it's just kind of. Arthur Smith, they'll have to make a move, I think, to switch things up there. Maybe get another quarterback in there. It'll be interesting to see if Tannehill from Tennessee, if his career's over, he played well in Arthur Smith's system when he was with Tennessee. If he goes to Atlanta, it might be a good, easy transition for Tannehill there, and it'd be an upgrade over Ritter and Mariota. So we'll see, man. I think there's Atlanta, definitely a lot of teams are going to be in the quarterback market looking at this list and going team by team. NFC West, San Fran, man, they've been just beating teams up, man. It's just like good physical brand of football. Started off slow, but once they got kind of rolling, Jimmy G got them on the right track with the wins. After Lance got hurt, that was unfortunate. But I don't know, man. I just wonder if they gave up a lot to move up to get him. Is he really the long-term guy? I don't know. How much does he learn? How much does he still have to learn? How he can't even get on the field now, and he's gonna have to sit there and just read the playbook. But the Niners are solid in all of their spots on the field. They got a solid, rock solid, great defense, powerful running game, and adding McCaffrey midway through the season. Deebo Samuel will be coming back. They just got a lot of the ingredients there to really make noise in the playoffs. And man, Brock Purdy, dude, that was a guy I thought, oh geez, Jimmy G gets hurt, but man, Purdy has been rock solid for them. Shanahan, man, tip of the hat to him to getting him ready. And this is Mr. Irrelevant, just rolling with it, man. It's like the moment isn't too big for him. And who knows, if they continue to win like this, maybe he's their guy moving forward into the future. So Niners, man, they're the team I think can easily, or maybe even in some ways, could be seen as the favorite to come out of the NFC and maybe even win the whole thing. They just look so good right now, man. I mean, they offense, defense, the play calling. As long as they have the health, they're going to be one of the top, top 2 or 3 for sure in the NFC, if not the top. Seattle, they started off well, but now they're at 7-8. I think they've kind of the talent that they have is kind of caught up to them. They were, I think, fortunate to have that great record they did when they starting the year off. Geno Smith was playing great. You got Kenneth Walker, Lockett, and Metcalf there at the receivers position. But aside from those spots, you're kind of like, all right, there still seems to be, they need an infusion of talent at other spots that maybe they have their limitations. They can go so high without getting up, toward the top of the NFC. But good for them, good for Pete Carroll. They've been competitive and they've exceeded expectations, I think. I really thought they were going to be one of the worst teams in the NFC, especially NFC West. But hey, good job for them. And they'll have Denver's draft picks, so hopefully they can, put that to good use and get some, add some more talent to the team. Rams, I'm a Rams and Raiders guy. I grew up with them, but bad year for them, man. I think a lot of the moves they made in the offseason just didn't look like they were going to add up. And here we are, mess, because injuries, once a couple of those top guys get hurt, now what do you got? Your depth, you're counting on street free agents and 6th-round draft picks and 7th-round draft picks to fill the holes. Your offensive line was a mess the whole year. Stafford is kind of getting up there in age and maybe got some mileage on him. Cup goes out. Donald's been in and out, and maybe best to just sit him for the rest of the year. And, F them picks, huh? This is kind of now what you're getting, man. It's like, now what are you going to do? All them good picks have been traded away for temporary satisfaction they won the Super Bowl. So yeah, you could say it's worth it. But now you can't sit there and complain if you have years of a rough patch for a couple of years because of this is your formula or your the decisions you make there with how you want to approach the draft and how you approach free agency. You signed Allen Robinson to a big deal. Well, it's like, why did you do that? I didn't see that. Didn't seem very logical to me. They ignored the offensive line. I thought, it was like, they could have brought some more talent there in, and yeah, I just Rams, I don't know. Baker Mayfield, though, has been really good there. He could be a guy that if they hold on to, maybe McVay can work his magic with him. And I think, McVay owes the Rams thanks, whether he stays here to continue to play or he moves on somewhere. They've kind of brought him back to life and maybe extended his career, because he wasn't looking good for him, man, when Carolina cut him and everyone was like, oh, Baker, he's, flop, and, nobody wants him. He's never going to be a starter again. Yeah, I wouldn't say that, man. I think now McVay's pointed out some of his positives and his strengths and worked around those, and Baker's looked a heck of a lot better than those other quarterbacks they had in there, and maybe in a lot of ways looks better than Stafford, man, because he's got a little more, athleticism to him. And I don't know, man, I think a number of teams, especially with a lot of teams out there in the league needing quarterbacks, I think Baker is going to be an option for some of these teams. How can he not be? You know what I mean? So I think he's played himself into his next contract here, whether it's with the Rams or, like I said, with someone else. And last but not least, Arizona, 4-11, man, rough year. Going back and forth with Kyler Murray getting hurt, McCoy being in there. They had to throw in McSorley last week. Now McCoy's back. Hopkins didn't get there till week 8, week 10. It's just, I don't know. Kingsbury, man, that style of offense was meant to work long term. I don't know. I think Arizona's, and then they just gave him and the GM a contract extension and Kyler Murray. So it's like, I don't know what they're doing over there with some of these contracts they're handing out. I would have been a little more selective with, maybe we'll sign one of these guys and we'll, let's wait and see how you do before we give you an offer or a new contract. Arizona, I'm not, whatever. They've got some things to figure out over there. I wouldn't be surprised if they move on from Kingsbury after this year, just because that offense and that team is just kind of seems not to be headed in the right direction here. Trying to be all flashy and big names with Hopkins and signing Hollywood Brand, and we got Kyler Murray, and hey, look at us, we're going to score 50 points a game, but if you can't stay healthy, then what are you going to do? 4-11, man. Anyway, just wanted to run it by you guys, NFL, and kind of cruise through the league there. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back soon with some new content. Of course, it'll be fun here. The playoffs are coming up, so we'll keep an eye on that. Some stuff materializes, we'll be sure to share that with you and come up with another video here. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys soon. All right, bye.